Welcome, 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 everybody. Give yourselves a huge round of applause for being here today. I am so excited for you guys to be here at the Body Language Show this morning. Oh my goodness. So, this is going to be an awesome opportunity. You are going to learn so many awesome and amazing principles to change your lives and take yourselves to the next level. Also, I'd like to recognize all those who are joining us online. Give them a huge round of applause for being here too. Woo! Okay, so for those of you who don't know, this is 3 Key Elements. 3 Key Elements is a company dedicated to training and mentoring others to clarify their direction and empower their decision-making process. We help others to improve their skills and how they influence others. 3 Key Elements is an Inc. 500 company and has been on Utah 100 Fastest Growing Companies, received Utah Best of State for specialty education. And so our purpose here at 3 Key Elements is to empower the human mind to improve relationships, increase personal power, and inspire self-mastery. So, you know, a lot of you have made sacrifices to be here. You have people who are like watching your kids, or you got off of work a little bit so that you could come here. So I just want to give you guys a huge round of applause for making the effort to be here today. So thank you guys so much. Woo! Okay, so a little bit about me. My name is Benjamin Beals. I am the office manager for 3 Key Elements. And I first heard about 3 Key Elements about, I believe it was 2011, so about 5-6 years ago. And I came to a body language show, just like you guys are today. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. Like, you can do that? And I just was like, fell in love. And the opportunity came to work for the company, and I have just loved every experience I've had. So, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce to you Ann Washburn, who will be your trainer and presenter today. Ann is a member of the National Speakers Association. She's delivered over 2,400 presentations, married to her husband for 24 years, mother of 5 incredible children, and offers individual and group mentoring, teaches classes including break-free intensive, corporate trainings, and other character-building developments programs. She's a keynote speaker, body language expert, and our mentor today. Everyone join me in a round of applause to welcome to stage Ann Washburn.
Good. I can't hear me. Can you guys? Oh, there I am. I hear me now. Welcome. So this morning I have a question for you. My really tall music stand here. Let me shorten it just a little. My question for you is, how many of you know anything about body language? A little. I like that. It's like this much. It's like a scales there. It's like, okay, so by the end of this class, I'll ask it again, and we'll expect your hand to go up a little higher on that one. So then my other question for you is, how many of you want to know what the people sitting around you are saying with their body language? Hey, some more hands on that one. Then you are in the right place. Because when it comes to body language, here's the reason why I love to teach people about body language. If you look at your handout, everybody has one of these. Show me yours so I see it. Everybody has one of these? Awesome. On the front here, it says the 3 voices of communication. So that you guys that are there online, I'm going to draw this on the board for you. But it says the 3 voices of communication. Now, why would it say the 3 voices? Because think about it. We send messages to people all day long. Do you ever interact with people in your life? 1 or 2, right? Just a couple of them. And in our world, there's people everywhere. Anytime we want to get something done, we have to interact with somebody. And so if we know that we are communicating, then we want to also know if we are miscommunicating. Because which is more costly, communication or miscommunication? Yes. Miscommunication. Where would miscommunication cost us? Dating. Good answer. Business. Excellent. Where else? Marriage, for sure. I just did a training, in fact, this week I've done 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my 5th training this week. And in 2 days ago, I was up in Logan doing a body language training at the Riverwoods Conference Center. And we had 50 people in the room. And I asked them that question. And somebody said, it would cost you at the hospital. And I was like, oh, that's very true. Because what if you have an allergy and it gets miscommunicated to the doctors or the nurses? Could that be costly? Absolutely. So miscommunication is very costly. So in that case, it's important for us to recognize and look at what is it that causes our communication. Because when we think about it, we think communication is words, it's text, it's email, but communication is also the tone of our words. Communication is also our gestures. And so here I've made it into a pie chart. These are the 3 voices of communication. And on average, only 7% of that communication, the meaning of that communication, is the words that we speak. Only 7%. 36% is the tone of those words. Have you ever gotten in trouble for your tone of voice? Our tone of voice gets us in a lot more trouble than the words usually. But that tone of voice, bigger piece of the picture. If somebody is listening to your words, they're going to listen to the tone of those words. You ever heard of sarcasm? We listen to sarcasm and then we wonder, okay, wait a second, the words and the tone don't match. And so we know to take a different meaning from the words. And so this big piece right here, 57% of our communication is our gestures or our body language. And so if we don't know what message we're sending with our body language and it doesn't match the words that we speak, which one are people going to get more of the message out of? The body language. Yeah. Because imagine, let's just play here, okay? Let's play for a second. So let me just give you an example. Oh, today's the best day ever. Scale of 1 to 10, today's an 11. Does that match? So which one does your brain want to go with, the words or the body language? The body language. We so pay attention to body language all day long. Our brains, your brain, my brain, are wired to pay attention to body language. They're wired for it. But yet we're never taught what messages we're sending with our body language. And so now we end up with miscommunication because our words are only sending a small piece of the message, a small piece. And so when the words and the body language don't match, this is when miscommunication happens the most. And so I care about your results. So because I care about your results, that means I want to help you send a complete message so that you can avoid miscommunication. So that's my purpose in sharing body language with you. And if you read the email that we sent out, today's specific focus is on how we send emotional messages, how we're feeling on the inside. That gets communicated to people around us. I'm going to draw it like this, that we have, here is you. That's you. Say, aw. See, you're so cute, okay? So this is you. And around you, let's use this one. You have your personal space. That's your space that's around you. But that space has a feeling to it. There's a feeling to our space. Have you ever come home from school when you were young and your mom was in the house, and before you even found your mom, you knew what kind of mood she was in? You ever go in the house and you're like, oh, mom's in a bad mood, let's avoid mom. Did that ever happen? It's because there's a feeling to the space around us. There's a feeling to this. And that feeling, whatever is the main feeling in that space, gets communicated to people around us. We actually send messages to people around us through our body language. And they come out and it tells what kind of mood is inside of us. And that mood, when it interacts with other people's moods, will affect our results. And so today, part of my purpose is to teach you what's going on with communication of body language and communication of mood, and how those fit together, and how to help that send a message to people around you that you want to send instead of our default messages. Cool? Are you in? Yes. All right, awesome. So in your handout here, this one, on the inside, there is another handout. They kind of come apart like this. The middle one is called the 3 Key Elements University. This is an education company, and this is a list of many of the recordings and classes that we offer. That one's for your reference. You can put that one down. This one is the one I want to draw your attention to right here. So on the front, it has the 3 voices of communication. On the back, there's a little bit about me. See, that's me. We match. So this is a little about me. In the middle here, this is about many of the places that we have done trainings out in the world. Because part of my job in the company is I travel all over and do body language trainings. I spoke at a large convention downtown at the Radisson yesterday. On Tuesday, I was speaking up in Logan. I teach body language classes all over. While I was up in Logan, I had 2 people come up that teach at a prison in Nevada, and they want me to come speak at the prison there. So I get to go and travel and teach people all over. And so this is just a sampling of some of the places that we have done trainings. But this part on the inside, this is the part I want to draw your attention to. So open up your handout, and you can even fold it backwards like this. I know if it was a book, that would be a bad thing to crease it backwards, but this, I want you to pull it backwards. And I want to show you what we're going to cover while you're here today. Right here, part 1, this is a list of many of the different messages that are sent out in your body language. Because different parts of our body language send different messages. And so, for example, our hands actually send different messages than our feet do. That makes sense, right? When you're driving down the freeway, most people don't lift their foot up. And when you go past, they lift their hands up, right? Oh, you guys didn't get that one. So there's different messages coming out from our hands than our feet. Or our eyes, or our neck, or our shoulders send different messages. So I've typed this up, or I've had our team type this up so that you guys can use this as a reference. And I'll refer to this in different parts today. Part 2 and part 3, these are fill in the blank. I will give you all the answers, and if you miss one, I encourage you to cheat off your neighbor. Is that fair? You don't get that offer in classes very often. And then this part right here where the stick figure is, this is where I'm going to teach you where your body language is coming from inside your brain and why it's possible that we would send a different message when our words and our body language, and why we can be unaware of what these messages are and how to increase our awareness and be able to align our messages. In order to do that, it's powerful to be able to understand where that's coming from. So I want to give you a bunch of science-y type information there. Are you good with that? Yes. 3 of you? Okay, that's good. So the rest of you, you can listen along if you like. So I would like to know how many of you have been to one of my body language trainings before? Just so I have a feel for that. Awesome. Okay, so those are the pieces I'm going to cover today. And then around that, the specialty focus today is going to be about this mood. And here's, so can I teach you a little bit more about your mood right now? Would that be okay? Hey, because I'm really glad that all of you are here, and we have 127 people who have signed up to join us online today. So will you guys just turn and wave at all of them in the camera right there, so that they know that we're so glad that they're here. Okay, so we have them joining us as well. And so when I have people come up to the front to be volunteers, just know that you have all those eyes on you as well. Cool? Some of you are like, stop breathing. I don't really want that many people to watch me. So the thing I want to teach you about your body language really quick when it comes to this mood is this. So there's the picture of you with your personal space around you, but I'm going to draw it over here again so that we can teach you apart. When we have lots of emotions inside of us, do the emotions spoil, or do they stay fresh all the time? They rot. They get heavy. When emotions stay inside of us, when something bugs you, does it over time feel different as it started to bug you? Does it start to feel heavier and heavier and heavier as you try to work through it? Emotions that stay inside of us start to weigh down on us. And when I say they weigh down on us, you can see it in people's body language. It will start to get heavier. You'll see body language sink down because the emotions got heavy. Well, another thing that happens is when we feel emotions pull down on us, our personal space, actually, we want to shrink it in around us because we feel like we need to protect ourselves. Okay, so I'm jumping in. I'm jumping in kind of deep really fast. Are you guys good with this? Yes. All right, because I want you to know that as it pulls down on us, as our emotions pull down, we feel weak or we feel vulnerable. Have you heard those words before? We feel weak or we feel vulnerable, and so we want to protect ourselves. One of the things that I watch in body language is when somebody feels weak, their body language goes in. It gets smaller. Their shoulders come down, their hands come in, their chin comes down. Everything, it's kind of like we want to go into protection mode. The problem with this is that as it shrinks down, you can liken this to your comfort zone. Your comfort zone gets smaller. And have you ever heard this statement? Growth begins at the edge of your comfort zone. Growth begins at the edge of your comfort zone. And so if our space is shrinking down, if we're shrinking it down to protect ourselves, we're doing the opposite of growing. We're doing the opposite. Because when I'm in this kind of a place so if this is a mood that is a positive mood, this one is enlarging my comfort zone. And when I enlarge my comfort zone, I am in the process of growing. I'm in growth. And in our life, when we want to gather more results in our life, okay, does anybody here have any area of your life you would like a better result? Good answer. And so when we want a better result, we have got to enlarge our growth, our comfort zone, so that we have more room for results. So we have more room. Because look at it. What if I have a goal and there's a result that I want? And let's pretend that's the result. In order to gain that result, I have to enlarge my space big enough to include that result. Does that make sense? Okay, I got to know, am I going too deep, too fast? You guys got this? Yes. So in order to get this result, I need a bigger comfort zone. This is why the term growth begins at the edge of your comfort zone. Well, gathering results also begins at the edge of your comfort zone. When you set a goal and you want to achieve this goal, in order to get this goal, I have got to grow myself to the point that that is included in who I am. Do you hear that? I have to grow myself to the point that that result is I'm big enough to have that be part of who I am. So that is one of the cool things that people don't realize about body language, is it gives us the chance to do this. And so this is going to be my focus today. That's what I want to teach you, because I want you to be able to have more of those results that you want in your life. Yours. You get to choose them. So if you don't want anything new in your life, there isn't anything that you want to have be different, please do not put anything I give you into practice. In fact, I would suggest that you sit there and go like this, la, 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 la. Because if you take and you change something, you will get a different result in your life. Einstein said it best. He said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a new result. And so another definition of insanity is thinking you can do everything different and maintain the same result. We have to be willing to try new things. So while you're here today, I'm going to ask you to play. Those of you that are online, I'm also going to ask you to play. Because even though you're not sitting in this room, if you try something new, you start to enlarge your comfort zone and you start to get towards having those results be part of who you are. But we have to be willing to play. And in our world, we are in a place where everything is done electronically. That the things that I love it. When I saw this, it was an app, and you download the app for your phone, and the app was a hammer. And I was like, I don't think an electronic hammer is going to work very well, because it was kind of a joke that you download the app, and it becomes a hammer, and then you use your phone as a hammer. And I'm like, that is not a good electronic use for our phone. Because in our world, we're trying to turn everything into an electronic use. We have apps for so many things. We have our computer that's doing everything. We interact on our phones more than we do face-to-face. And so we're losing some of the art of communication. But the problem is, we still have to be able to understand our own selves and our body language and our mood so that we can have these results be part of who we are. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to be willing to play. In your world, you're playing more on the phone. I'm going to ask you to play as being part of the room. You guys online and you guys here. So let's start right now. Everybody, fold your arms. Everybody at home or on the computer, you guys fold your arms as well. Okay, now everybody look down and see which arm is on top. Got it? Okay, unfold your arms and fold them back with the other arm on top. How does that feel? Awkward. It's like, wait, arms don't do that. What are you talking about? Okay, you guys online too. Okay, fold them like this and just hold it for a minute. It feels awkward. It feels strange. It feels outside your comfort zone. It is not comfortable. Is it still legal? Yeah, it's still legal. Is it still moral? Yeah, it's ethical. There's nothing wrong with it, but it feels uncomfortable. In science, this is called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is simply this. Your brain cannot hold on to two conflicting ideas at the same time without discomfort. In other words, your brain right now, what it's feeling is, this isn't how we usually do things. And so your brain is going, well, wait a minute. Do I want to keep doing it this way? Or can we go back to the comfortable way of doing it? And you're like, no, Ann says I have to hold it like this for a minute. And so what I'm giving you is an opportunity to feel that when you try something new, it might feel uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean that it's bad for you. It actually can be that it's growing you to a place where you can get different results. Okay, so now you can unfold your arms, but I want you to have that feeling and remember that it might feel uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean it should be avoided. Because we have a tendency as humans to avoid uncomfortable and avoid unfamiliar. And it's a survival mechanism, because if something is uncomfortable or unfamiliar, then what happens is our subconscious says, wait, I haven't done that before. I don't know if it's safe. And your subconscious wants to keep you safe. But in our world, we have a very good first world problem. And that is 90% of the time, we actually are not in mortal danger when we don't feel safe. We actually are more often in a place of, if I push past that comfort zone, I will grow in a new area. Does that make sense? And so we have an opportunity to push outside this comfort zone and gather and receive more of our results. Now, I asked earlier, how many of you have an area that you want a new result in? Raise your hand again. Okay, would it be worth going through a little bit uncomfortable to get to that result? Would it? Okay, so then today I'm going to ask you to be willing to play. I want you to be willing to play. Cool? All right, so would it be okay really quick if I tell you how I became a body language expert? Anybody curious? All right, awesome. Because I love, so when Ben came up here, he said that I've given over 2,400 presentations. It's actually 3,308 presentations. So I've gotten to teach about body language a couple of times. So I might have learned a little bit along the way about body language. And in 3 Key Elements this year, I will have been here for 7 years. I've been with 3 Key Elements. And I love what I do, because one of the things I love is getting to help a person see what is between them and the goal that they're trying to achieve. And when I can show them what that is and show them how to get it out of the way, they get to their result faster. And so that's what I'm going to do today, is I want to mentor all of you. I want to teach you these things that help you get there faster, but only if you're willing to play. Because if you're not willing to play, then the information won't stick. It'll just slide off the outside of you. It kind of makes this sound, splat. So we got to be willing to play. It doesn't mean it'll be illegal. It means that we are going to try things different than we've always done them. And so I love this coolest job on the planet that I have. But before this, I used to work in flight simulation. I built multi-million-dollar flight simulators. And my first job out of college, I worked in explosives. So explosives, flight simulation, body language expert, career path. Yeah. Isn't that how it works? Don't they give you that out of high school? They say, if you want to be a body language expert, go be an engineer, go blow things up. But the reason that happened for me was I went to high school. Anybody been to high school? Crazy place, high school. And I realized I didn't really interact well with everybody in high school. I didn't get along with the teachers. I didn't get along with the kids. They all scared me. I thought, there's got to be a better way. So I came up with a plan. And the plan was leave high school, go to the nearest college, see if they'll take me instead. Turns out they would. And I was like, oh, cool. They'll take me at college. But they asked me, they said, on your registration form here, what are you going to list as a major? And I was like, major? I didn't know you were going to let me come to college. And now I have to know what I'm going to do? Okay, I know. What majors do you have with no girls in them? And the guy looks at me like this. He's like, why? And I said, because I'm coming to college to date the boys, so I don't need the competition. And the guy goes, okay. So he opens his book and he says, well, in that case, how about you be an engineer? And I said, no, thank you. I do not want to drive trains. And he looks at me and he goes, Ann, in our program, there's very few girls and no trains. And I was like, sign me up. I'll take it. So I went through school in mechanical engineering. And it's true, there weren't very many girls. You know how I know? They called me into the dean's office one day, and they said, Ann, we've decided to elect you Woman of the Year for the department. And I was like, was it a hard contest? And they're like, we're really glad we have a girl to elect. And I was like, awesome, I'll take it. So I got to be Woman of the Year, and I got to show my kids in my yearbook, look, I was Woman of the Year for the mechanical engineering department. And they haven't yet asked me how many girls were in the running. Don't ask that question. It was me and the boys. And so it was like, no brainer, we'll elect Ann. But I went through school in mechanical engineering, and then I married an engineer. And now I have these 4 boys and 1 girl. But I still couldn't communicate with people. And as an engineer, I didn't have to. I could hide in my little cubicle. I didn't have to talk to anybody. I could just send emails, do all my work on the computer. I didn't have to interact until the kids got big enough to go to school. And now here I was back at the schools with the same problem. And I was getting in fights with the teachers. And I was getting in fights with the other parents. And I came home and I asked my husband, I'm like, how come everybody on this planet is so mean? And my husband goes, I don't think you want the answer to that question, Ann. And I was like, fine, you're mean too. And so here's where I was 7 years ago in my life. I was where I would just send my kids to school, and I would hide on the couch. I would not leave the house. I would not answer the phone. Because the effort I was putting out, I was trying so hard to be nice to people, and the results I was getting was so low. The discrepancy was so big, I didn't want to try anymore. I didn't want to. And so I just hid, and I wouldn't talk to anybody. And so as I was doing this, a really good way to hide, I found out, is with a remote and a blanket. I could just have a blanket on the couch, and I could just flip through channels on the TV. And as I was doing this, I was flipping through channels one time, and because I didn't have cable or anything, so I had 7 channels. So it didn't take long to flip through them. Flip through them, and it's like, dang, flip through them again. Dang, there's still nothing on. I watched Barney. I watched the kids' shows. But one day I flipped through the channels, and I found an entertainment channel. And they were showing this interview with a bunch of movie stars. And they put this one picture on that showed these movie stars who had just been through interviews, and they were standing up on a carpet waiting for their pictures to be taken, but they were just talking to each other. And so they were just standing there. And I remember I just looked at that picture, and I was like, none of them stand the way I stand. None of them hold their chin the way I hold my chin. None of them look like people I've seen out in my work or at school. They look really confident. And I remember thinking, what is making them look confident? And this is when I began studying body language, because I was like, in fact, I remember I even stood up in my living room, and I tried to stand the way they were standing, because they had their shoulders back and their chin up, and their hands were down to their sides. And I remember going, ugh, this feels weird. This feels so weird to stand like this. And I was like only doing it because nobody was in my house watching. Nobody was home. It was just me. And I thought, wow, I would never let somebody in public see me standing like that. But that is when I started to realize there's something to this, and I've got to learn more. So my husband came home one day, and I was hiding on the couch. The TV wasn't even on. He just found me under there, and he lifts up the blanket, and he goes, "Oh, Ann, guess what? I signed you up for a class." And I said, "Go away. I don't want to go to a class." And he lifts up the blanket again, and he goes, "Ann, the class is about communication and body language. It's called Master Your Influence." Who's been to Master Your Influence? A few of you. Awesome. And I thought, really? Body language? Here, watch my body language as I go to your class. And I sat in the back of the room, and I was like, "Go ahead, try and teach me something." Because I knew it wasn't me that needed to change. It was everybody else on the planet. But I began to learn more about body language. I had wanted to, because I had seen this picture on the TV. And as I began to learn and understand that when you send a conflicting message between your words and your body language, people will discount what you say to believe what they see. They will discount your words to believe what they see in your body language. And I thought, fine, then I'm going to go home and I'm going to try it. I'm going to try new body language. And so here was the problem. I went home, I adjusted my body language, and immediately, how fast? Immediately, I got a new result. So then I got mad. Anybody here stubborn? Oh, cool. Those of you that wouldn't raise your hand are the really stubborn ones. And so here I was, and my stubborn kicked in. And my stubborn was because I thought, really? Body language can change my results this quickly, and nobody ever taught me about it. So I was mad, because I had gone all the way through school. In fact, if you count preschool and kindergarten, and then 12 years of regular school, and then college, I'd been through 19 years of school, and no one had ever taught me about body language. And I was really grumpy about that, because I thought, you know what? I want better results in my life. I want those results, and nobody taught me. How many body language classes have you been offered? This one? Good answer. One, because you got offered this one right here. And the reason you got offered it is because I chose to change my career. I chose to change my career from doing cool things like blowing things up in flight simulation to going around and teaching people about body language, because I want you guys to have shortcuts. I want you to have the ability to change your results and be able to grow yourself to a place that your goals become part of who you are. Do you want that? Or is it just me that wants it for you? Do you want it? You want it? Okay. You want it, you want it. The rest of us will come along for the ride. Because dang it, body language is awesome. And when you understand why it's awesome and what to put into place, now you get a new result. And so remember, if you don't want a new result, don't listen. Don't take notes. And for heaven's sakes, do not apply anything that I teach you. Got it? All right. But in order for us to be able to have an environment where people feel safe to come up and be seen by all the people here and online, we got to have rules for our class. Those of you who have ever been to a 3 Key Elements class, you know that at every class we have 3 rules. So what's the first rule that we have at every class? It's a quiz. Be good. Be respectful. So high levels of respect. High levels of respect. Tell the person next to you, I will respect you till lunchtime. Hey, after that, you're out of my jurisdiction, but until lunchtime, high levels of respect. Rule number 2, what is it? Do you remember? Those of you that said you've been to a class, just testing you. Don't worry, it's not graded test. It's just a practice test. It is be present. That means be willing to play. It means when I ask you to try something, be willing to try something new. Because in our society, most of us have gone to a place called junior high. Anybody been there? Junior high. Anybody want to go back? No hands there. Okay, so junior high was this crazy place that what happened was when people around us, you remember that one kid that raised their hand and they answered a question wrong and then everybody laughed at them? Do you remember that kid? Hopefully that wasn't you, right? And then it made us say, I'm never going to be that person. So I am going to stay inside my comfort zone. Because as long as I can stay inside of this comfort zone, it's safe. But you know what? Staying in the comfort zone doesn't get us our goals. So one of our rules is be present. Be willing to answer questions. Be willing to ask questions. Be willing to guess when you don't know an answer. Because I will purposely ask you questions you may not know the answer to. And if you're willing to guess, it actually opens up a door inside of your brain that wants the answer to come in. Because it's like, well, it could be this. Am I right? And then your brain waits for the answer. And so when you can allow yourself to open up to answers, now you'll retain more of what I teach you. So be willing to be present. Be willing to play. What are the two words? Present and play. And respect. Yes, we'll go back to that one in a minute. So what's the third rule? Manage your communication devices. That means make sure your cell phone's on silent. It means manage this communication device. It means manage this communication device. You know, we're not here to tell the person next to us, oh, that's you. You should do this. We're here to help ourselves, okay? So we manage our communication devices. It also means that I am going to present at whatever level you are ready for, whatever level that you want to have. And so if you want to pull more information out of me, you be willing to play at the level I'm here to play at. It means be willing to get out of that comfort zone. Imagine that. That is the whole theme today, is getting out of that comfort zone and being able to change the mood around us so that we send out the messages we want for the results that we want to get back. So let's check. If I'm going to play at 100%, what level are you going to play at? 100%. Great. That sounded like 37%. So let's just check again. Let's try it one more time. Because remember, when you said that, did that push you out of your comfort zone? Some of you are like, no, heavens no. Some of you are like, yes, a little bit. So 100%. Is your 100% going to be the same as her 100%? No, you're held to your own 100%. I'm held to my 100%. So I'm going to ask again. Let's just check. I'll play at 100%. You play at? 100%. Did that get out of your comfort zone? So look, just check in. This is your first calibration check with you. Did you push out of your comfort zone enough that you could start to include new things in your life? And if you didn't, then why is your goal not important enough? Why doesn't it matter to you? Because what you have available to you out here is higher levels of relationships. Relationships. Anybody have a relationship they would like to have be better in their life? Higher levels of money are out here. Higher levels of understanding and knowledge are out here. If we aren't willing to get out of that comfort zone, then this is the cost. This is what we miss out on. So I do. I did a Facebook Live yesterday about emotional intelligence. Have you guys heard of emotional intelligence? So have you heard of testing your IQ? Well, they also want people to have a high EQ. So there's your intelligence quotient and there's your emotional quotient. And when it comes to, I've read many different things on this emotional intelligence, and it comes down, there's disagreements out there, but one study even said that emotional intelligence is 75% of what pulls you to your goals, and IQ is only 25%. That when we want to get new goals and new relationships and new ways of interacting in our life, that emotional part matters 3-1 to our intelligence portion. But yet, what do we work on? We work on the intelligence. We go through school for 19 years to increase our intelligence, but we aren't working on the emotional portion. And so I want to teach you that emotional portion because that's what pulls us to our goals faster. And so if you're not willing to get out of this comfort zone, then why does that goal not matter to you enough? And if it does matter, then be willing to get out of that comfort zone. Check in with yourself. Do I start to play and then pull back? Do I start to play at 100% and then I go back to 17%? Do I start to go to 100 and then I say, you know what, 90's enough? Just check in with yourself on that, because this isn't about me. This is about your goals. So let's just try it one more time. I'm going to play at 100%. I'm going to ask you your 100%. But this time, do your 100% as if that's what it takes to scoop up that goal and have it be part of who you are. Because those goals matter. Those dreams matter. The last person that you want to meet on your deathbed is the person you could have been. Does that make sense? And so we're here to do something different now. Different now. Because you guys, I know what it's like. I lived inside a very small comfort zone 7 years ago. And now my life is very different. I know how to pick a goal and get a goal. I know how to choose how I want things to be in my life and make them happen. Do I still have to do it? Yes, I still have to do it. But now I know how and I know what to do. So are you ready to play? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to check in. I'm going to play at 100%. You play at? 100%. Yes. Okay, so 100%. Your 100%, not somebody else's. But when we play, we expand this comfort zone. So 3 rules. What number 1 is? Okay, remember the 100%. Number 2 is? And number 3 is? Everyone who will follow these rules while you're here, raise your hands so I can get an agreement. Wait. And you guys at home too? Awesome. All right, so now we're ready to play. Now we're ready to absorb. Because all these things that I taught you, we got to put them into practice now. Cool? Okay, so this is where we remember our agreement. Are you ready to play? Yes. Okay, awesome. So now let's have you turn really quick to part number 2 in your handout. Does anybody need a writing utensil? Everybody have a pen? Could you get some pens for us? Okay, everybody who needs a pen, they are grabbing you some right now. Okay, so I am going to read these fill in the blanks. Okay, so who needed a pen? We have some right here. Right there. Awesome. Thank you very much. I'm going to read 2 of the blanks, and when you have them filled in, say, got it, and I'll know it's time to go on. Got it? Got it. Reading body language is a skill to find answers and solutions. Answers and solutions.
Got it.
Good job. To begin reading body language, I must remove judgment and see movements as indicators. When I see movement, the next step is to ask good questions. Remember, if you miss one, you can cheat off your neighbor. The next step is to ask good questions. Okay, so let's check in. If I see somebody standing like this, what does that mean? Thinking, closed. What was that? Protecting. Mad, blocking you out. It could mean any of those. How are you going to know which one it is? Ask what? Good questions. Is this a good question? Why are you blocking me out? That would be an ungood question. Okay? Ungood questions push people away and break rapport. Good questions increase connection and maintain rapport. And so what would this be a good question? Is it cold in here to you? Then it'd be like, yeah, I'm freezing. Oh, now you know why they're folding their arms, and you don't have to think they're blocking me out. We can ask questions to figure out answers. And that's really important because of our subject today about how our mood on the inside comes out on the outside. Because, for example, when I was doing that little piece up front where I said, man, today's the best day ever. Scale of 1 to 10, today's an 11. Okay? What am I really feeling on the inside? I don't want to deal with today. I'm not feeling it. And yet I'm trying to. I'm saying the words, but it's coming out in my body language. Have any of you ever seen the show Lie to Me? Has anybody ever seen that show? Who's seen it? Just curious. Okay, so Lie to Me was a show. It only went for a few seasons, but the premise of it was they were saying that you can read people's through their facial expressions, their facial micro-expressions. This was based on the work of Dr. Paul Ekman from Southern California University. He did work on facial micro-expressions. Well, facial micro-expressions are fascinating because we can't really control them very much. Have you ever had your eye twitching and you couldn't get it to stop twitching? So yesterday, I was holding a personal mentoring appointment, and the person who was in the appointment, she's like, how come you ask me these questions and my eye just twitches and twitches and twitches? And I'm like, well, because we can't manage all of our facial expressions, not our micro expressions. We can manage our facial expressions, but not the micro ones. Does that make sense? And so it's fascinating to learn about those, but what I want to talk about is the parts that you have power over. I want to teach you those parts. And so, for example, there was a study that was done at Kansas University. And at Kansas University, they wanted to see, do the facial expressions actually have an effect on our physiology? In other words, if I change my facial expression, does it change me? Does it change anything about me? And so what they did was they took, I love it when universities do studies because they have so many guinea pigs available to them. They're called freshmen. So they bring the freshmen in and they say, okay, we're going to do a study. And the way the study went was they divided the people into 3 groups. And all 3 groups had to perform some brain puzzles, so how, kind of like a Rubik's Cube or something that you have to really think hard about. And they were putting them in stressful situations. So they divided them into these 3 groups, and they all had to do the same activity, except for the first group had to do it while smiling. Okay, show me your smile. Okay, now see if you can hold your smile with teeth while I explain this. Just see if you can hold it that long. Because they had to hold their smile the whole time they were doing this activity. And so here they were doing this stressful activity and remembering to smile. So keep smiling. The next group had to do the same stressful activity, but they weren't told to smile, okay? They got to frown, but you guys keep smiling. So they had to frown. The third group, they were given a chopstick to hold in their teeth to cause them to have a forced smile. So they had smiling, keep smiling, you're doing good. They had smiling, they had frowning, and then they had forced smiles. And what they found was they measured the stress response in these people. And those people who smiled through the activity had a very low stress response to the activity. Those who frowned had a high stress response to the activity. And so being willing to smile actually changes our response to stress. And so somebody say, what about the chopstick people? Okay, good. So what about the chopstick people? Ask it.
Was there a difference between the forced smile and the...
Awesome. Great question. I'm so glad you asked. Those who, okay, keep smiling. You're almost done. Those who held the chopstick in their teeth had the same lowered stress response. And so it actually is the facial expression that was lowering the stress response, not the decision to smile. Okay, so you can stop smiling now. You did awesome. I know you're like, cheeks, oh. But yet, we don't remember to smile. We don't choose to smile often. Or sometimes we choose to smile and we're like, oh, this is a fake smile. Everybody's going to know it. But guess what? Choosing to smile, or even holding a chopstick in your teeth or a pen, it actually will reduce our stress response. And in our world, how many stress-induced illnesses are there? There are so many. You go to the doctor and the doctor's like, you got to stress less. And you're like, how do I do that? We should now have doctors give out chopsticks. This is what you do to reduce your stress level. We forget to smile. Because what if even you're going to a meeting, or you're going to work, or you're going to an activity, and you're driving in the car, and you smile on your way there. You smile. The people in the cars around you will probably go, wow, why are they so happy? But you don't have to smile the whole time you're there. But what if you smile on the way there? It would actually change your physical response to the activity if you smile on your way there. And so smiling is powerful. It's so cool, and we don't even access it. We don't even access it. Have you ever noticed that I pay attention to people and their personality types, and I'm watching all of you the whole time you're here, and so now some of you are like, oh, she's scary. But I watch people. Hang on just a second. So I watch people everywhere I'm going. And have you ever noticed that there are certain people that they won't smile no matter what? It's like it's illegal. So even when they're happy, they're like, oh yeah, I am just overjoyed today. And you're like, I don't believe you. And then there's those people that are like, man, today's awful. I can't believe how today's gone. But if you pay attention to them, which ones have the higher level of results? Which ones have the lower stress response? You know, there's the extremes, but I'm trying to give you concrete, down-to-earth things that you can use in your life. And so changing your facial muscles has an effect on your stress level. Cool? Question?
I was just going to ask, are you going to give us feedback on how we sat through this?
Don't worry. Everything I'm teaching is based on what I'm watching. The way I've done everything today is based on what I'm watching. So yeah, you're getting lots of feedback. I promise. All right, so smiling is one of the first things that we can do. Accessing that smiling will actually help increase this zone so that we are moving out to accessing more of the results or more of the goals that we're trying to reach in our life. Cool? Okay, so let's try this. Wahoo? Wahoo! Hey, there we go. So now let's turn to your stick figure in your handout there. Turn to your stick figure. So let's see what you know here. So inside your head, you have a conscious and a subconscious. Is that true? Yes. Is it more complicated than that? Yes. But can we simplify it to this for right now? Okay, we don't have to talk about the limbic brain and the frontal cortex and all the pieces to be able to understand our body language. So our conscious and our subconscious. Did you bring both of yours with you? That was really smart. I'm glad you did that. So out of your conscious and your subconscious, which one handles more information? Why? Why does your subconscious handle more information? It's faster. Good answer. Why else? Your brain would overheat if it didn't. What was yours? It's more aware. Okay, so this is an example of one of those that I'm going to ask you a question. You may not know the answer. But what I want you to see is, can I go deeper for a second? Are you guys okay with that? I want to show you something about yourself. I asked you a question that most of us haven't ever considered. We're not going to know an answer to. But I asked you earlier, I planted the seed that you could guess answers. And then I asked these answers. And look, I got several. Were they good answers? They were good answers. We actually have access to more knowledge and inspiration than we ever access. Than we ever utilize. I'll try to use two different words instead of the same word in this twice. We actually have access to more inspiration and knowledge than we ever utilize. And one of the reasons is because we're trying so hard to stay in this comfort zone. Our subconscious actually wants things to stay familiar. Our subconscious's job is to keep us alive and comfortable. And so if we are looking for new answers, the subconscious actually fights against that a little bit because it's like, no, that would mean getting out of my comfort zone. And the subconscious, it's not that it doesn't want you to achieve your goals. It's just that your subconscious is highly interested in keeping you alive for the longest period of time possible. And when we get out of the comfort zone, it's unknown. And so our subconscious goes, let's tread carefully. Let's be careful. But as soon as we expand this zone right here, there's more inspiration out here, there's more knowledge, there's more money out here, there's more relationships. All of that is out here. But we have to choose to push our space out to be able to gather it, to harvest it, to be able to get to it. So our subconscious is trying to keep us safe. And I ask you why, and you give me answers. When we're willing to do that, we actually find out things we never knew. We actually can access and get answers we didn't even know were available. Okay, so that's just a little tangent I wanted you to be aware of. This is why teachers learn more than the students. Because when the teacher is up front and she doesn't know an answer, and she's like, oh, what would be the answer to that? Ideas can pop into their head, and you give them and teach them, and it's like, wow, I didn't know that. When I get done with class, I'm going to write it down. Do you guys know that happens? You absolutely have access to more inspiration than you ever recognized. And if you will learn these things that I'm teaching you here, you will have access to inspiration to how to get to your goals and achieve your goals faster. Wahoo? Wahoo! Okay, so your subconscious. Studies show your conscious mind will process between 20 and 40 pieces of information every single second. 20 and 40. 20 to 40. So in that same amount of time, and you can guess, How many do you think the subconscious will process? Awesome. Listen to all those answers. Those are awesome answers. So the subconscious, on average, will process 40 million pieces of information in the same amount of time that the conscious processed 40. 1,000,000 times more information. 1,000,000 times. How can the subconscious process 1,000,000 times more information? How? Can we get a microphone, please? Then everybody online can also hear you. And would you please stand up? Oh, there's the microphone for you. White microphone.
Interesting. I've done a little other different
Okay,
kinds
hold
of
it
training
close. There you go.
and some John Maxwell stuff and different things we do at a community I'm involved with. And this all ties into the 4 levels of learning, which I'm sure you're aware of. Unconscious competence, conscious competence.
Yep.
So once it gets to the subconscious, it's like your heart. It controls your heart, your eyes, your mind. It does it all because it becomes a habit, which is the learning curve. Like when you first go to drive a car, when you're 2 years old, you don't even think about it. It's unconscious incompetence. You just don't know what you don't know. And then you're 12, 13, 14, you start thinking, oh, I get to do that one day. It's conscious incompetence. You don't know, but you're aware of it. Mm-hmm. And then you get that learner's permit. Now you're in the car the first time and you're looking at the steering wheel and the gas pedal and the brake and the clutch and the shifter, and you're just nervous and cars around you. So now you're conscious incompetence. And now think about when you drive. Sometimes you get there and you're like, I don't even remember driving there. But
right.
Your subconscious just takes over because it becomes a learned habit.
A learned habit. Could we call it a program?
Yeah, that'd even be better. I hope that made sense. Sorry.
Totally. I love that example. And tell everybody your name.
Troy.
Troy. Big round of applause for Troy. So building on what Troy said, we have learned programs that are in our subconscious. Because the question was, how do we process this much information so quickly? Well, like when we're a kid, we don't process as much as quickly as we do when we're adults. So to use Troy's example, how many of you drive cars? How many of you remember your first day behind the wheel? I'll never forget that day. Because for me, I was 11, and because I grew up in Idaho, so my mom pulled to the side of the highway, and she says, Ann, can you reach the pedals? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, good. Drive the car to Rigby while I read my book. That was my whole driving lesson, and I was terrified. I know every inch of the road from Yukon to Rigby from that day. I remember that I passed 2 trucks and 2 cars. There was 2 white ones, a red one, and a black one. Because I remember every second of that. But now I can pull into work and it's like, how'd I get here? Because now it's a program. In other words, when I first start to learn something new, it's a conscious behavior. When I first start driving a car, learning a car, I have to consciously do every piece of it. But now I have a program in my subconscious, and it's like a file in here. And the file is labeled how to drive a car. And so when I get in a car, my subconscious accesses the file and it runs the program. Does that make sense? So Troy's example was very good. I also have other programs in my subconscious. And I might have a program, and the file, if I click on that file and I open that file, inside that file there might be an experience that says, when your husband is mad at you, this is how you respond. And if I look at the date on that file, the date might be when I was 5 years old, is where I got that program. Does that make sense? Or I might have another file that if I click on it in my subconscious, I click on another file and I open it, and this file is labeled how to manage money. and I look at this file, and I look at the date on it, and the date on it is when I was 7 years old. And I was 7 years old, and my mom and dad were having a fight because they couldn't get all the bills paid. And that's where I learned to manage money. So files, do they ever need upgrades? Do they need updates? Yeah. Do you think you have any programs in your subconscious that could use an upgrade? Anyone? Yeah, we need an upgrade to our programs. In fact, this morning when I opened my phone, I saw what do you call those? A notification on my phone, and it says 2 apps on your phone need updates. And I was like, oh, this is like a daily occurrence. Something needs an update every single day. And so the thing is, programmers know if you're running faulty programs, you get faulty results. If we're running faulty programs, we get faulty results, which means we need to upgrade our programs so we avoid faulty results. Because how often do I really have a program from when I was 5 years old making decisions in my marriage as an adult? All the time. Because science has found the majority of your base programming was put there between the ages of 0 and 11 years old. And then we just keep running it over and over and over and over again. The problem is, how many of you were raised by perfect parents? Who here is the perfect parent? We aren't. We aren't given owner's manuals. Every one of my kids, I searched them for an owner's manual when they were born. There was no owner's manual. And they didn't issue one at the hospital. I was amazed. I was like, when I had my first baby, I'm like, you're going to let me leave the hospital with this? I don't know how to run it. And they're like, oh, you'll figure it out. I'm like, that's my lesson? You'll figure it out? And I'm like, I remember I couldn't even sleep the first few nights because I'm like, I have no idea what will happen. What happens when he cries? What if I do something wrong? And then by my third kid, I'm like, they don't break very easy. We'll be fine. Okay? It's a very different. I remember because my first one, he was this little preemie. And so when I brought him home, I was like hyper worried about anybody with any germs. And my mom wanted to hold him. And I'm like, no, because I saw you 5 minutes ago touch your face. You can't hold him. And my mom's like, I've washed my hands 20 times. Can I please hold the baby? And by the third one, I'm like, here, you can just hold it. We don't come with owner's manuals. And because of that, we have programs that we gain from our parents, who gained them from their parents, who gained them from their parents, or whoever raised them. Because like my dad was raised in foster care. He wasn't raised by his parents. You think he got some programs? Just 20 or so, right? And I'm his oldest child, so I'm the guinea pig. So I got programs that weren't serving me. I have programs that caused me, when I would go interact with people, I was sure that I wasn't safe interacting with people. So my default body language was very self-protective. It was very defensive. The problem is when people see defensive body language, they tend to turn to the offensive. Our subconscious says, if that person is behaving a certain way, there must be a reason that I need to do you guys wanted body language 301 today, right? Yes, we're good with that? So my subconscious, if I see somebody who's defensive, my subconscious will want to go to complementary behavior. Complementary. In other words, I send messages out with my body language that show people what my programs are. People pick up on that body language and then treat me according to my programs to provide evidence of my program that it should be supported. Did you guys follow that? I need an audible answer. You can say no. It's all right. I'll explain it again. But I just need to know. Is this useful for you to hear this? Yes. Okay, because what's happening, let me give you the answers to part 3 on your fill in the blank, so you can see what's going on. So another thing that my subconscious does is it prepares the words I speak before I speak them. Because my subconscious needs to support my programming. It needs to. And so while I'm getting ready to speak, my subconscious will prepare 650 words every minute for me to speak. Every minute. Can you speak 650 words a minute? Let's ask a girl. Can you speak 650 words a minute? Even girls can't. In fact, on average, these words have to get filtered down to 150 words. On average, we can speak 150 words a minute. And so if I can only speak 150 and my subconscious prepares 650, how do I choose which words to speak? Carefully, I like that. The programs. So the programs, based on what the programs are, those 650 words got prepared. And then, like you say, based on my programs, I pick which words to speak. I also will use, like, what's going on around me. If my words are politically correct, maybe I will choose them more. If I'm trying to be nice, I'll choose certain words. What if I'm driving down the freeway and somebody cuts me off and there's no kids in the back seat? Maybe I'll choose different words. Does that make sense? So we filter our words based on experience, based on programs, based on environment. So experiences, environment, and programs cause us to filter our words. Well, remember, the subconscious only has 2 things it cares about, are keeping us alive and keeping us comfortable or things familiar. That's all it cares about. Sorry, nowhere in there is the subconscious programmed to make sure you reach your goals. It is not our default programming for our subconscious to say, I am going to reach my goals. And so the subconscious says, look, you only spoke 150 words. I still had 500 more that I wanted to say. Where do those go? Oh, is that good news or bad news? Some of both. Because think about it. My subconscious says, I need people to know what your programs are. And you only spoke 150 words, so I'm going to help you out and send the rest of the message out in your body language. When I first heard that, my response was, no! There was a reason I didn't speak those words. They weren't nice. I was trying to be nice. So I bit my tongue on the mean words. And then I found out the message went out in my body language anyway. Oh, that was not what I wanted to hear. And so I was like, well, wait a second. If my body language, if my subconscious is sending messages out in my body language, is there anything I can do with that? So now play with me for a minute. Everybody hold your breath. Now, tell your heart to stop beating. Okay, it didn't work. Good. So there are some things I can take conscious control over away from my subconscious. There's other things that I can't. So remember I said your micro expressions, we can't take conscious control over those. But all of our gross motor skills, our major expressions on our face, we can choose to override those. We can override them. Because I'm really glad that I can control my breathing. Whenever I drive past the oil refinery, it's a good place to hold my breath, okay? Or if you're swimming, it's a good time to hold your breath. Well, body language, we can also override our body language. And when I override the body language, what then happens is, do you guys know how a battery works? If this is a battery, how do I access the energy that's in the battery? Turn it on, but how do I do that? What has to happen to a battery to use the energy that's in it? There has to be a connection from one side to the other. If I have a connection, if I complete the circuit, now the energy can flow. Do you follow me on that? You guys didn't know you were having so much science class today. So on a battery, if the energy can flow from one side to the other, now there's power that can be accessed from the battery. If their connection doesn't go both ways, now no power is accessed. Do you follow me? Two of you. Do you follow me? Yes. Okay, so the same thing is happening. There is a circuit that goes from our subconscious to our body language, and it goes back from our body language back to our subconscious. It's a circuit, just like a battery. The subconscious programming sends messages out through the body language, and then my body language also sends messages back to the subconscious. In other words, I send messages out through my body language. And if my body language supports the program gets reinforced from my body language. Tell me you followed that.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I try to conceptualize with you?
I would love that. Could you grab a microphone for me, please? Run that up. Would you please stand up? I was hoping that somebody would explain what I'm explaining. Perfect.
Yeah, my name is Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Hi. So what I'm gathering is when we were born, we had certain DNA, family, environment, society that all influenced. So I look at it like this would be our operating system. And then the programs are the things we learn along the way that add to function through the operating system. So everybody's got a different operating system, so they're going to function differently. So the body language may, even though certain people have certain programs, we all won't function the same way because we have different operating systems. Is that right?
That's true. And then continue.
So as we continue to grow, we develop habits, which are programs. And so we never really ever lose a habit or break it. We just create a new program.
We can upgrade it.
Upgrade it.
Yes. And so, see, what you're seeing there is now this is a running of the program. And so the software up here sends out messages to say, is this program still running? I get feedback back from people around me, and the message goes back in and says, yep, program is still running.
So our brain is all electric.
Yeah.
And so we're thinking at the speed of light, in a sense. And so our subconscious reacts faster than a lot of times than we think we react to it. So sometimes when you're talking about the microsystems, we can't control them because they're faster than our body can react to them.
Right. And the important part you just said is this is like software. Can software have an upgrade?
Yes.
Software can have an upgrade. And so I keep checking. I walk in the bathroom in the morning and I check for a blinky light on my forehead that says, update available for your software. And I still haven't seen one. Dang it. And so I've got to access that update a different way. And the way I access it is through this process. And the way I recognize it is through the cognitive dissonance. When I feel something is uncomfortable, awkward, or new, that is my opportunity to choose. Do I reinforce the program that was already being sent out, or do I choose the upgrade? Because you guys know when your phone says software update available, it doesn't require you to install it. True? but you get the opportunity or the option to install it. And so when I catch my body language, I can choose to maintain the old program, or I can choose to upgrade. But it's the body language that gives me access to that upgrade. Is that cool?
And that's when you have to reach out.
Oh, microphone.
And that's when you have to go outside your comfort zone.
Yes, we go. But it doesn't mean it's dangerous. It doesn't mean it's painful. It just means we've got to go outside of what the subconscious views as the comfort zone. Excellent.
Thank you.
Big round of applause for Josh. So now this is why, like you said, it's the good news and the bad news. Because we have this. We can access this when we become conscious of our body language. If I'm not conscious of my body language, I will maintain the same messages. Just like I told you that for me, when I was on the couch and I'm flipping through those channels, and I stood up and tried to stand like the movie stars that I saw, I was like, no, there's no way I'm going to let anybody see me stand like this, because it would feel so weird. It would feel so awkward. So what I'm showing you is that when we get to that place of awkward, we now have an opportunity or a choice to go a different direction. Okay, may I give you an example? Would you like an example? Yes. All right, so for me, when I started paying attention to my body language, one of the first things I noticed was when my kids would come home from school, I would meet them at the door, and I caught myself doing this. Kids, I'm glad you're home. Tell me about your day. Does that match? No. And now, based on our voices of communication, which one are the kids going to listen to? The body language. So I'm saying, tell me about your day. Do you think they told me about their day? No, because I'm pushing it all away. And so what had to happen, or what I had the opportunity to do, because I saw the body language. So the subconscious sent out a message. Kids, go away. So let me ask you another question that you can guess the answer to. Why would I do that? I liked my kids. Why would I be pushing them away?
They're interrupting your day. You're busy doing something.
They're interrupting my day. I'm busy. Why else?
Being social is not in your comfort zone.
Being social isn't in my comfort zone. Why else might I do that? My feet were muddy. Stay away. Programming. There's lots of reasons why I would be doing this. If you go to my public Facebook page, I did a training called A Lot on Your Plate. When there's a lot on our plate, we will send out the message that I don't have any more room. I don't have more room for things on my plate. And then even if they're important to me, which my kids were important to me, even if they're important to me, I'll still send the message, there's no more room. Because I love my kids. If I was conscious of it, kids got number one priority. And yet my body language, my subconscious, wasn't supporting me in that. And so I was pushing them away. And so I'm like, okay, I now have an opportunity, because the message got sent out. I saw it in my body language. And so in that moment, I'm like, it's not the message I want to send out. So the next day when the kids came home, I met them at the door, and immediately I saw myself start to do this. And I was like, are you serious? And so I'm like, kids, hi. And you know how you go into slow motion when you notice some things? I'm like, oh, really? There I am sending that same message again. Not today, not today. And so I did this. Tell me about your day while I cook dinner over here. And that felt so weird. And I was like, oh, the kids are going to think I look so stupid doing this. But they didn't think I looked stupid. They saw a different message. They didn't even notice the body language. They just felt a different message come in. Now, I saw my kids, I did this, and I saw my kids go, huh? Wait a second, that's not, because now it was out of their comfort zone. Because they were used to this, I switched to this. Now it was out of their comfort zone. And so the first day, they didn't know how to act. They're like, I think we'll still go over here and not talk to mom. But I didn't let that stop me. I wanted an upgrade to this program. So the next day when they came home, I was like, kids, tell me about your day. I'm going to add 2 hands to this. I want the message to get through. And so the kids are like, this is so weird. Mom is different. And the next day, I'm like, kids, tell me about your day. And it got less and less awkward because I was choosing the upgrade to the programming. And so after a few days, my kids started telling me about their day because I changed the body language. I changed the body language. So turn to part 1 in your handout for me for a minute. Turn to part 1. Now, look at the lower left-hand corner where it says 4 foundational moves. When you've got it, say, got it. Got it. Got it. Okay, what are the 4 foundational moves? Push, pull, hold, and lift. So say them with me. What you push goes away. What you pull comes towards you. What you stays down. What you push goes away. What you pull comes towards you. What you push stays or what you hold stays down, and what you lift grows. 4 foundational moves. If you only pay attention to those when you leave here, you will have different results. Or you can choose different results. If you pay attention to them and don't change them, then don't expect a new result. But if you pay attention to them and notice them and adjust them, you can expect a different result. So here I was. Which one was I using on my kids? Push. I was pushing my kids away. Can you feel that? I was pushing. And then I adjusted it to pulling. Do you feel the difference? What if I stood up here for the whole class and this was my body language? Okay, so I want to teach you this, and I want to teach you this. Here's what's going on in your body language. What does that feel like? Heavy. It feels heavy. What was yours? It's like, ugh. And yet, when I go to back to school night at the elementary schools, I watch the teachers. Guess what the most common body language is? Sit down, be quiet, don't touch your neighbor, let's talk about this, don't move. And here's the message. And it makes sense because the teachers are like, I must manage 28 children. I must take control of this room. But when we feel heavy, what's your response? Defensive. Anybody rebellious in here? Yeah. Our rebelliousness gets triggered. It's like, I don't want to be kept down. And so the teachers are trying to manage the room, and they're causing rebellion to stir up. So what if, okay, play with me. Everybody do this. Everybody do this. Now, while you're pushing down, all I want you to do is move your hands. How does that feel? Isn't that cool? Okay, now go down, push down. Now you're pushing down, and while you're pushing down, just move your hands. What happens? It's lighter. It's lighter. Yep. Okay, so say that again.
Your shoulder, your muscles, because your subconscious actually changes how it operates. This is pushing that.
Okay, but your shoulder doesn't change what it's doing.
No.
Just the message to your subconscious changed. The message got sent, a new message up the muscle into your subconscious. You just experienced this. That's what you experienced. You switched the message and your subconscious went, whoa, that's different. And so if you are somebody, if you catch yourself pushing down, just try turning your hand over. Just try turning your hand over. My husband he's a consultant, and he was consulting a very large company in New York. And he was in a plant that had 1 million square foot of real estate, just the building. 1 million square feet. Can you imagine having 1 million square foot house that you had to clean? That would be a lot of rooms. So this was 1 million square foot plant. And the manager of the plant, he was driving everybody nuts. Everybody nuts. And so when my husband got there, they're like, you gotta fix Dave. We're gonna call him Dave. That's his pretend name. You gotta fix Dave. And my husband's like, why? I don't know. He makes everybody crazy. It's so hard to work with him. And so my husband went and shadowed Dave for a few hours. And he saw that this is what Dave did whenever he talked to anybody. He was like this, okay, your job is this. Have you gotten this done? What about you? Have you gotten this done? And this was his body language. So my husband goes in and he meets with Dave. And he says, Dave, I'd like to help you with something. Can I teach you some body language? And this was Dave's response. Okay, he didn't say anything, but this is what he did. And my husband goes, well, I see that you're not, what did he say? He said, I see you're not open to that. And as soon as he said that, Dave could feel that my husband was recognizing his message. And he goes, it's just that I don't buy into that kind of stuff. And so he opened up a little. So my husband says, what if you just try one thing? Would you be willing to try one thing? And Dave's like, all right, fine, what is it? And my husband said, look, when you talk to people today, instead of this, I just want you to turn your hand over. That's all. And he's like, this? And my husband's like, yeah. And Dave's like, there's no way that'll matter. He's like, just try it. And so now my husband went and shadowed Dave, and Dave's out there, and he's talking to somebody, and he looks at my husband and goes, and my husband's like, good job. And so he did this. And then he went to the next person, and he started, and he's like, and my husband's like, yep, keep going. And so he was just doing this instead of this. And by the end of the day, my husband had several people come up to him and go, what did you do to Dave? He's completely different. We love Dave now. And my husband's like, that's all you do. It's just this. But we so often are sending out this push down message instead of a lift message. Okay, so do it one more time. In fact, turn to the person next to you and do this towards them. Do this towards them. Okay? Do it towards them. And now while you're looking at them, turn your hands over. Does that feel different? All right, so now everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Now find a different person. Find a different person to do it with. Okay, find a different person. Now just this time, just one hand. Just one hand. And I just want you to say, I'm glad you're here. Okay, what does that feel like? Oh. All right, so now turn your hand over and do the same thing. I'm glad you're here. Does that feel different? It's so quick and so subtle, but it completely changes how we interact with people. Okay, so give your partner a high five. Say, I'm really glad you're here.
I'm really glad you're here.
All right, so let's make sure you got the answers to part 3. Part 3. I am going to I'm going to read it, and this time you give me the answers. So I'm going to preface by reading this part that's at the top. The ability to understand and use nonverbal communication is a powerful tool. Circle that word powerful. It is a powerful tool that will help you connect with others, so underline the word connect, express what you really mean, underline the word express, navigate challenging situations, underline the word navigate, and build better relationships, underline the word build. So the ability to understand and use nonverbal communication is a powerful tool that will help you connect with others, express what you really mean, navigate challenging situations, and build better relationships. If somebody gave you the opportunity to connect, express, navigate, and build, would you take it? Would you take it?
Yes.
And that's what we're doing. So I've taught you to smile to access lower stress levels. I've taught you to take and turn your hand up instead of down. Also to pull instead of push. Those are powerful pieces. Let me show you one more piece with your hands, and then we'll go to the fill in the blank. Another thing that we tend to do is we tend to use weapons with our hands. And the way weapons look are, here's one. It's called the slicey dicey weapon. Have you ever seen somebody that talks like this? It feels like they're slicing you up. It's like, oh, I'm sushi today. And we're going to slice them up. So slicey dicey body language is hurtful. What, have you ever seen this one? It's called punchy punchy. It's really technical, okay? It's punchy punchy. If you ever see people talking like this, we worry about the message they're sending. But what about this one? Have you ever seen this weapon? Yes. So will you play with me for a second? You just have to sit there. But let's pretend you're my kid, okay? And I got to talk to my kid and tell him he needs to clean his room. And I pull out my weapon. This is like a laser-focused cannon right here. And I pull it out, and I say, you need to clean your room. What does that feel like?
It's like you're, I don't know, just saying it right, like, goes to my
Yeah,
soul.
he's like, right here. And his words, you couldn't hear him. He said, it feels like it's going right to my soul. So do I want my kid to feel like they are bad and their soul should be poked because their room isn't clean? But yet we do this all the time. We pull out our weapon and we poke holes in people. Watch. I'm not going to change anything about my words or my tone. I'm just going to change the focus of my laser cannon. And you see if you can feel something different. You guys see if you can feel something different. You need to clean your room. Where am I pointed? At the room. How does that feel?
Makes me want to go to where you're pointing.
Makes you want to go to where I'm pointed. Instead of my soul just became Swiss cheese, I pointed the laser focus at the problem instead of at the person. Do you see the difference? And yet, we don't think of doing this very often. This is a very powerful tool right here, but it can be used for the light side of the force or the dark side of the force. And we got to figure out which side we're on. And so if I point this at the room instead of at the kid, I maintain relationship with the kid, and now we can tackle the room together. Or he can tackle the room because we pointed the energy there instead of at him. Does that make sense? Who needed to hear that today? Anybody? Okay, so look, I can use it for the light side of the force. What's your name? Skylar. So Skylar's still my kid, but watch, what if I do this? Skylar, why are you so amazing? How does that feel?
Good. Yeah.
So if you guys couldn't see Skylar, but his facial expressions were completely different. He's like, huh. Because what did your brain do in that moment? Did it try to find an answer
Yeah.
to why you're amazing? I can actually slip in a positive statement past his subconscious defenses by using this for the light side. So everybody pull yours out. Pull yours out. Now find somebody next to you. You can point at them and ask them, why are you so amazing? How does that feel? Isn't that crazy how your brain wants to find answers to questions? And yet, how often do we ask negative questions? Because if I ask somebody, why are you so stupid? What's their brain going to do? Well, here's the list. Did you want the list? But if instead it's like, why are you so amazing? Now your brain's going, I'm allowed to answer that question? I might know. Here's my new list. This is why I'm amazing. We can help people around us by managing our own questions that we ask. And so if I ask positive questions, their brain is going to look for an answer. Cool? I was in Costco one time, and I shop at Costco because, remember, 4 boys, lots of food at my house. So I shop at Costco, and I saw this mom come in the store, and she had a little boy about the age of one of mine. And so I was watching her, and the little boy was pushing the shopping cart. And they come past me, and the mom's shopping, and the boy pushes the cart, and she'd stop, and she'd put something in the cart. And then she'd stop at the next thing and look. And so the little boy would stop and he'd look around. And then he'd look up and mom had moved forward. So he'd push the cart up forward. And she's looking at something, so he'd look at something. And I'm like, aw, here, try that with me. Aw, it was so cute. It was just precious to watch these guys. And so there's the mom and there's the kid. But then this is what happened. And I was like, oh no, don't do this. So the mom moves up ahead, and here's about the 4th time that she'd gotten ahead, and this time she'd picked something up, and she wanted to put it in the cart, and he hadn't caught up to her yet. And so the mom is here, and she looks back, and she gets this facial expression, and I'm like, ooh, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And when he pushes the cart up to her, she grabs the cart, and she goes, keep up with me. Why are you always so slow? And I was like, no, we got to have a seminar here in Costco. Because his brain is now going to look for the answer to that question until he finds one. And all he was doing was just being cute. Mom's looking at stuff, I'm looking at stuff. And yet we don't realize the messages we send. Because what if instead, when he got up, she would have said, oh, thank you for pushing the cart. It's so nice when you're right here for me to put it in. Would that have sent a different message? Completely. He'd be like, I got kudos. I'm going to be right here. I'm going to stay right by mom. But instead, there's a guy called Hiram Smith who worked with Stephen R. Covey. You guys know who that is? And he said once in a talk that I heard, he said, with people, fast is slow and slow is fast. In other words, our tendency is to try to do whatever is fast right this second. And so with a kid, I'll ask them, I can shame them into keeping up with me by saying, why are you always so slow? And that's the fast way to get my result. Or I can take a few extra minutes right now and calm myself and say, thank you for pushing the cart. It's so nice when you're right here by me. I can take a few extra seconds, and now in the long run, that's slow right now, but in the long run, that will be faster. A good example of this is the dishwasher. I can empty the dishwasher right now, and that is fast right now. But in the long run, that's slow because I keep having to empty the dishwasher. Or I can do slow right now and take a few minutes to teach my child how to empty the dishwasher. Then in the long run, that's faster because then I can just say, will you empty the dishwasher? So fast is slow and slow is fast. If I'll take the slower right now, in the long run, I get to save time. Did you follow that? So there is such cool things. There is such cool things about managing our space. Managing our space. Let's put them here. So one of them is, one of them that we talked about today is smile. So that smile, that causes our space to grow. Another one is our hands. So with our hands, we've talked about the push-pull, and the hold-lift. And then we talked about the, let's see if I can write this, the weapons. Okay, so we've got those pieces that we've talked about that can enlarge our comfort zone. So let's get the fill in the blanks for part 3, and then I'm going to teach you one more piece that you can use to enlarge your space. Cool? If I teach it to you, are you going to possibly put it into practice? Yes. But only if you want new results, right? Because if you don't want new results, please don't use it. Don't use it. All right, while you are speaking, the brain prepares and organizes 650 words per minute to say. At the last minute, our consciousness filters this down to 150 words. As a person speaks, there are an average of 500 words. I know it's math class now, right? 500 words that are held back. These hidden words show up in body language. Absolutely. Okay. So I have in my brain several different things that I want to teach you for this next part. So in order for me to decide which one I think will be the best one for you to hear next, I would like a couple of people to tell me, we're going to get the microphones, I'd like a couple of people to tell me what you are getting out of what I've taught you so far today. Because let's just ask, have you learned something new today that you didn't know? Yes? Okay, so could I have 2 people tell me from your point of view, what have you been learning today? What is your aha? Would 2 of you be willing to share? Awesome. Would you stand up, please, and grab the microphone and tell everybody your name?
My name is Diana.
Hi, Diana.
Hello. I loved that you can direct your energy not at someone as opposed to where you wanted them to go. I had 7 teenage daughters all at once, and
Wow.
I wish I had that tool 15 years ago.
I know. Remember my stubborn because nobody taught me body language? Exactly.
Yes. So that I can direct energy. Now, they would always come to find me in the kitchen, and I was always chopping things anyway, and they'd say, "Mother, what about this?" And of course, it was like with a knife in my hand. Well, you need to do. So they're used to this.
So that image in my head, that is like a true weapon.
It was very real. And so to change how my hand looks to hopefully get a better response, or I now live with grandchildren. And so I'm grateful for that tool alone.
Excellent. Big round of applause for Diana. Thank you. Okay, who else would like to share? Thank you. Please stand up.
Hello, I'm Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
So the one thing that I enjoy learning about this is the fact that we are not set in stone. We can change. We are meant to upgrade our programs and our subconscious mind. And that's one of the very things that I've learned is even though our body language may now say a negative message, it now can be upgraded to send a more positive, uplifting, and more welcoming message. I really love that.
That is well said, because people sometimes ask me, they're like, how can you stand to see so much in people? How can you stand to watch the body language? And I'm like, because I had to choose early on that what I am looking at is my ability to help people access more of their amazingness. Because like you just said, that is the key to it, is we're not set in stone. Because you notice your body language means you have a choice for something new. It doesn't mean, dang it, there's evidence that I can never change. It means, awesome, there's evidence that I have a place to upgrade. So that was very well said. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Big round of applause for Jeff. Thank you. Does somebody else want to share? Awesome. Would you please stand up?
I didn't know I should share this because it's not exactly what you've shared, but it was something that
What's your
gained.
name?
It's Cindy.
Cindy, then that's exactly what we want to hear, is from your perspective.
It was just some experiences that I had had. I've been pushing myself out of the comfort zone,
Good job.
and just if it is uncomfortable, just face it. And so I did some really stupid things that I thought, oh crap, this might have ruined this relationship. But what I learned is the fact that, and I don't know how I got this out of your body language show, but just this belief pattern shift of, what's really cool about that experience is, even though I made mistakes, is that, wow, that relationship can actually even be stronger if we choose to look at it and support each other, instead of it being, I pushed somebody away and it was a failure and there's no opportunity for that relationship to go any further. That it could actually, just changing that belief pattern could maybe create a different energy towards that relationship, that it could just be one of those really cool things that our relationship became stronger because we were able to move past that.
So I love what you're saying, because what you're accessing, and you're right, I didn't talk about it directly, but you're recognizing it from what I'm teaching here, is that this is a full circuit right here. And so we can adjust our body language and send a new message. We can actually also adjust the programs, and it's going to send a new message. So like you just called it, I can change my belief around it. It will adjust that will also adjust the mood or the feeling around me. If I believe, oh, I just messed this all up, that fills my space. But if I adjust that and say, you know what, I'm going to believe that this can grow us, now that changes how it feels around me, and people will pick up on that. And so that's really wise what you just said there, Cindy. But you were one of the people that raised their hand about Master Your Influence, right?
Yeah, I've been to a couple different, I've been to about 3 different shows.
Have you listened to this CD right here, Building a Mind of Steel?
Yeah.
Okay, so remember the concept in here is that we have negative thoughts that go through our head all day long. Mm-hmm. And studies show that on average, 70-ish% of our thoughts are negative. And if only 30%, remember how I just talked about 75% of our emotional intelligence leads to our success, and only 25% is the intelligence part? Well, the thoughts, if 70% of my thoughts are negative, what if I shifted a few of those to the positive? It's going to change my mood. It's going to change my results. And so that's really cool that you just fit those puzzle pieces together today.
Well, it's taking a lot of repetition of this to make
And that's
changes.
okay. And that's totally okay, because I still learn things. I learned new things this week, and we just keep layering them. The goal is that we keep going, because as soon as I don't know if you guys are all science majors like I was, but in physics, there is a law called the Law of Entropy. Have you ever heard of that? So the Law of Entropy, so you hear about other things like never mind, we won't go there. But Law of Entropy is just another physical law of the universe, which states that things left alone will tend towards a state of disorder. So you notice this in your kitchen. If you leave the kitchen alone, do you come back and the dishes just magically stack themselves? No, you come back and dust has settled or flies have come in. Things go to a state of disorder. It's just a law of our planet, is that I'm hoping that when we go to heaven, that is not the law. I'm hoping there's a different law and that everything tends towards a state of order. That would be awesome. But in our world, things tend towards a state of disorder, which includes our thoughts, which includes our emotional space. If I am not continually doing the work on my emotional space, it will tend towards a state of negative or less than. It's kind of like showers. I took a shower yesterday. Why should I have to take one today? But there's just how things work. It's like every day I get to take a shower. Every day. I mean, I've tried skipping. It's not a nice thing, okay? And so every day I get to put deodorant on. Every day I get to brush my teeth. Every day I get to check in. Have I improved the percentage of my positive comments over my negative? Have I improved it? Have I improved what my space feels like? Have I chosen today, this is what I bring wherever I go? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Because when you walked into this room, you brought your mood with you. When Skylar walked into this room, he brought his mood with him. When my daughter walked into this room, she brought her mood with her. And so we all are a piece. We all are a piece of whatever space we're in. And we matter. We matter. But we don't realize that we get to choose what that is. We get to choose it. And so for me, I don't have my phone up here. Do you guys carry cell phones? Any of you? No, nobody has ever heard of those, right? We have smartphones. So pull out your smartphone. Good job. But I am so proud of you. Good job. If you want, you can turn it on for this activity. So what happens is, Ben, will you give me my cell phone? So what happens is, I love to use my phone to remind me of things. Have you ever, on mine, I have what's called reminders. Do you guys have a reminders section? You have a reminders? You can use your alarm section too, or a reminder. But what it will do is the reminder, what I like about it is that it will choose a reminder based on a location. Does that make sense? If you have an Apple phone, the way I do it is I just access Siri. So let me just, you guys want to know secret pieces about Anne? Is this okay?
Yeah.
So this is what I'll do. Remind me when I get to work to be happy and smile.
I don't know your work address. Tap your name
Oh.
if you'd like to add it.
You do too. I just updated my phone, so now it doesn't know. So we'll do it this way. Remind me when I get home to be happy and smile.
Okay, I'll remind you when you arrive at home.
And so there it is. And that reminder will pop up on my phone as I pull into the garage. And then I can look at it. Oh, I'm supposed to be happy and smile. And so then when I go in the house, I just had this reminder. Because our tendency is to take whatever storm we were in and take that storm home with us. Or to take whatever happened at home and take it to work with us. And so I put those reminders in there to help me remember to change my mood before I walk into that next place. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you can use that too if you want.
Cool.
You're going to try that?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Thank
I don't
you.
know how it does it on an Android phone, but on an Apple phone, if you have Siri, it's that easy. But if you have a reminder, if not, another way you can do it is you can pull up your alarms, and when you set a new alarm, it will actually has a thing right here that says label, and you can label the alarm. And so if you're going to arrive home at 5 o'clock, you just label the alarm, be happy and smile. And so then the alarm goes off and it says, be happy and smile. And you're like, oh, dang it, my stupid phone reminded me I have to be happy and smile. But why not use our technology for our benefit? Why not do that?
Cool, thank you.
And so I love how you just explained that and brought all of that out. Anybody else happy that Cindy stood up? Okay, big round of applause for Cindy. Okay, awesome. Awesome, you guys. So now what I want to show you is there's a thing that you deal with every day in your life. It's called gravity. Have you heard of it? Gravity is another one of those things that it's got good parts and it's got bad parts. The bad parts is it keeps pulling down on us, and the good part is it keeps pulling down on us. In other words, it holds us on the planet, but it's also something I get to work against. So when I go to CrossFit, gravity is not necessarily my friend mentally, but physically it is. If I go into CrossFit and I lift weights, I get stronger. And so gravity helps me when I push against it. Did you hear that? Gravity helps me when I push against it. So gravity is our friend unless we let it win. Gravity is one of those things that we are constantly going to push against, and it helps us be stronger. Well, one of the things that gravity does to you is it pulls down on your shoulders and it pulls down on your chin. So everybody let gravity pull down on your shoulders and pull down on your chin. Everybody at home, you guys do this too. Now the problem is, how does that feel? Depressed, sad, tired. I know, and it's only 11:06 and it feels tired, right? Okay, now push against gravity, roll your shoulders up, and pull your chin just above level. How does that feel? How does that feel? Alert, better, strong, I can do it. It sends completely different emotional messages to our own subconscious. It actually fills our space with different energy. And yet gravity constantly tries to get our mood to feel tired and hard and depressed. So we have to remind ourselves to pull our shoulders up and our chin just above level. Remember how Grandma always said, sit up straight, stand up straight. Turns out Grandma probably was pretty smart on that one. Because if we will hold our shoulders up and our chin up, it adjusts our mood. It adjusts it. And so posture is another one I'm going to write on here. Your posture also will change your mood. On the email we sent out for this body language show, it said these specific things. Chin up, shoulders back, our weight on both legs. Who here's watched my TED Talk? Any of you? Okay, so go out on YouTube, type Ann Washburn. In there, I teach, it's only 15 minutes long, but I teach several stories about body language that would be really good for you to have inside of your head. Really good. And I don't have time to go over them here because I was teaching you other yummy stuff that isn't on the TED Talk. So now you get bonus material. Is that awesome? Yes. We like bonus material. So the posture, the weight on both legs, that sends a message to our subconscious that I'm balanced, that I can manage things, that I have strength. In other words, foundation. That's what my legs represent. If you look on part 1 of your handout, it says legs represent balance, support, strength. Under that, write foundation. Because that's what the legs represent, is foundation. And so those things, when I will lift my shoulders up and lift my chin just above level, studies show in 2 minutes, if you'll hold your, when you're feeling that afternoon slump, if you'll hold your shoulders up and your chin up, within 2 minutes, it actually adjusts the chemicals in your brain. But you got to be willing to hold it for 2 minutes. Imagine if you're having a low afternoon and you hold your shoulders up, your chin up, and you smile for 2 minutes. Do you know it will adjust the hormones and the chemicals in your brain, and you will feel different? And so, are your goals worth 2 minutes of your time? Yes. 2 minutes. And yet, how often do we go through a whole day and we haven't even given 2 minutes towards our goal? You can do this. You can have your phone remind you to do it when you leave a location, when you arrive at a location. But your posture, your smile, your hands, the push, pull, hold, lift, the weapons is what that says. When you adjust those and you're willing to hold them for 2 minutes, the mood adjusts. And the longer you hold the mood where you want it to be, the faster you expand to the place to where your goals are now within your space. It's worth it, you guys. Totally worth it. And so learn more about body language. Learn more about it. Because the more you learn about body language and then the more you apply about your body language, the faster your results improve. Because when I went to the Master Your Influence class, I left the class the first day and I thought, what in the world could I do to try new body language? Because I didn't have all of these pieces yet. Back then, I had never been to a body language class. I didn't know these parts yet. And so I was trying to think, what in the world could I do? What could I do? So I knew that when somebody feels weak, their body language gets small. When somebody feels strong, their body language gets bigger. And so I'm thinking about this as I'm driving home and I pull into the driveway and I'm walking up the stairs in the garage. And when I open the door, all of my kids happen to be sitting in the family room. And I was like, oh, darn it, here's my chance, and I'm not ready. What am I going to try? So I walk up to the doorway, and I stood in the doorway, and I said, hi, everyone, I'm home. And my kids look at me like, huh? And I'm like, no, I am going to hold this. I'm going to be open to my kids. And so I stood there just as silly as could be because I had no idea what to do. And all of a sudden, my 13-year-old ran across the room and hugged me. My kids were so hungry for me to be open to them that they would take the silly version of mom over the one who had been pushing them away. I'd be curious to know if my daughter remembers that experience. Do you remember that? And it was her brother that's just 2 years younger than her is the one that came over and hugged me. And I remember that. I have that picture in my head because it was proof to me that I didn't have to be perfect in my adjustments to make a difference. Small adjustments can have huge rewards, even when they aren't perfect. And so learn more about body language. Will you learn more about it? Yes? So Ben has been back here holding this jar for me for so long because it looks like you guys put your names in this jar, and I have giveaways I'd like to give away. Does anybody like giveaways? Yes. Yeah? Okay, because I have here audio recordings, and these audio recordings are mentoring principles. And the mentoring principles, what that means is, like Cindy brought up, I can use mentoring principles to help adjust my thinking, and it helps clean up my body language. And then I can also clean up my body language, and it helps adjust my thinking. And so if you're only going to do one, then you can have half the results. Or you can do both and get all of the results. Work on your thinking and work on your body language. And together, we reach new levels faster. And so I have some audio recordings that I would like to give away. Would anybody want one? Sure. Awesome. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to give away. So I have here 3 audio recordings. This one right here is called Perfection is a Direction. In our life, we get stuck in perfectionism. Anybody ever been stuck in perfectionism? We think we have to do everything exactly right. But perfection is a direction we go towards, not a destination that we're trying to arrive at. and changing and adjusting. If you don't think you're a perfectionist, listen to this to see which kind of perfectionism you're getting stuck in. This one called Don't Dump Your Cup. This is how to receive more of what's coming to you. Remember how we talked about pushing and pulling? Well, I watch people, and the majority of people use push-away body language. And it makes me crazy because people go, oh, I just don't have enough money. And my relationships aren't doing very well. And I just wish I had more friends. And I'm like, well, then want the friends instead of pushing them away. Adjust. And so this talks about principles about how to receive what's coming to you, the good things, how to receive those, how to balance your life more, how to access the value of play. All of those things are on this CD. And this one called the bucket list. This is about how to get out of your comfort zone safely so you're getting those goals faster. Those things that we talked about today, I give the experiences of where I learned that and how I put that into practice. Who here has these CDs? Anybody? A couple of you. Awesome. Okay, so I would like to give away all of these to a person. Would anybody like to receive all of those? Yes? All right. So I'm going to draw a name out of here. Now, the thing is, put your mood in a place that says, I hope that the person that really will have the best, highest impact with these will get these CDs. Just put your energy around that. So do you hope the person next to you gets them? You can still hope you get them, but hope the person next to you gets them too. All right, so these are going to go to Evelyn Banks. Oh, her notes are here. And so should we give them to husband to take to her? He's like, yes. Will you support me in that? All right, big round of applause for his husband. There you are. Now, they work best if you take the shrink wrap off and listen to them. They're not very good paperweights. They're really good information. Cool? And what's your name? Jean. Jean. Okay, so round of applause for Jean. And so then I have three more. I have the bucket list, don't dump your cup, and then I have one called the vision board. The vision board is how to get the left and the right side of your brain working together toward your goals. So I'm going to give each of these individually away to somebody. Would that be okay? All right. So these are going to go to, the first one goes to Jeff Hymas. Congratulations, Jeff. I like your reaction. Awesome. Okay, the next one goes to Margaret Kimball. Congratulations. Awesome. You are so welcome. And then this next one goes to, Skylar Kimball. Is that Skylar? I can't read. What is it? Oh, Steve? I can't read your writing, Steve. So if you verify that, I'm just kidding. This to Steve. Awesome. Congratulations. Okay, so I still have some more. Anybody want more? All right, I still have the Building a Mind of Steel one. Would anybody like that one? Oh, this is a good one. Everyone should listen to this one. And this one goes to Cynthia with no last name. Do we have Cynthia? Oh, is that you? It says, do you want me to read it? It's just an address. So if you already have that, you can gift it to somebody. Would you like to gift it to somebody? All right, awesome. Big round of applause for her. Okay, and so then this set right here, we have the Building a Mind of Steel, the Vision Board, and the Perfection is a Direction. I would like to give all three of those away as a set. Would you like to receive those? Yes. All right, and then this one goes to... this person just wrote their name and then scratched it out. It just says, I think it's all scribbled out. It says Scott. Is that you? Were you not sure if you were Scott today? Or So Scott, what's your last name? Beidentorp. Big round of applause for Scott. Congratulations, Scott. Awesome. All right, so would it be okay if I told you really quick about the Master Your Influence class, if you haven't been to it? Who has not been to it or is not going, or is not registered for it already? A few of you? Okay, can I tell you really quick about it? Would that be all right? Could you guys pass out that paper for me? They're going to give you a paper, a green paper like this, that says Master Your Influence. This is the class that my husband signed me up for 7 years ago, that I went to. And when I went to this class, it goes for 3 days. It's on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And the Master Your Influence class, the next one will be taught May 11th through the 13th, or August 24th through the 26th. Now this class, just so you know, there are other classes that you can go to out there. I've looked at many of them in the world, and the classes they range anywhere from $2,000 or $1,800 to $6,000 to go to a 3-day class. In fact, myself personally, I have recently just gone to 2 different classes. One of them cost $1,800 for 3 days, and one of them cost $1,000 for 3 days. And so there's many classes out there. They're in a range, and I just picked one that was sort of similar, and it was $1,800 was the tuition to go to the class. What is the tuition for ours? $227. So somebody say, well, does that mean it's not as good a class? Okay, who would agree that it's really an $1,800 class? Would you agree with that? Yeah, we teach it as if it's an $1,800 class. The reason that we put the tuition at $227 is because we just want everybody to have this information. Because the more people have this information, the more this ripples out, and we benefit the entire planet. Because remember how we don't get taught body language in elementary school? We're out to fix that. You can't go to any college on the planet and ask for 24 hours worth of training for $227. It doesn't work that way. Believe me, I've been helping my daughter pay for college. It is not $227 for 24 hours worth of training. But this class is 3 days long. Have you learned something in 2.5 hours? So imagine 24 hours worth of training. I am back here every month teaching this class right here. And you could come and you could get this big dose of positive information. If you look at it right here, it says, at the Master Your Influence, you'll be trained to begin to understand body language, master your mind, learn how to get your mind to work for you instead of against you. Receive mentoring tools that you can use immediately. When? Immediately. And get your life in order from the inside out. When you come the first day, you come and you get your manual and you get your name tag. The name tag is so that if you volunteer to go on stage, you can remember your name when we ask you what it is. Because when you come to the class, there is about 1,000 people in the class. And so if you look through here, we have lots of pictures and words because we know that both sides of your brain need to be fed. Ooh, look at this right here. Did you know every one of your fingers sends a different message in body language? And if you know what they are, it can help you see where you are needing to change your thought patterns about you. When you notice that if you rub a finger or pick at a finger, or maybe you have that one finger that you just keep biting the nail off of it, this is powerful information. And so all of this, you from 9 in the morning till 6 in the evening, we will be teaching you all of these pieces. There's a whole section here on vision boards and how to get to your goals faster. We'll teach you about that. All of these things will be poured into the Master Your Influence class because we want this information in everybody's repertoire. Because does it make a difference when you know what to do to adjust? Does it make a difference? Because when you came in here today, I told you I was going to give you specific things that you could do to adjust. If all I did was say, you should adjust, you should adjust, you should adjust, and you're like, okay, how? And so we're going to teach you more of that at the Master Your Influence class. When my husband signed me up for the Master Your Influence class, it was $750. But we've reduced that tuition because we realize people need to be able to have this now. So that's our purpose, is to empower the human family. We want you to have those skills in your life. And so you guys came and you played today. And so because you played, I'm going to give you a special, even a specialer, that's a word, I just made it up, even a specialer offer for the Master Your Influence. And this offer is good for anybody here, anybody online, or if you have people that you would like to register, because my husband signed me up, so I totally understand. I support you using this same offer for them. Now, I don't want to give you an offer because we're not going to play at this level. We will play at this level. And so I'm going to ask, I'm going to give you a really special tuition. And the tuition is good while you're here at this class. They're going to put a link up online so that you guys can go online and be able to access this same offer. But this offer is good today while you're at this class. But I'm going to ask you this. When you come to the class, play as if you paid this tuition. Play as if this is what you want out of the class. Don't come to the class because of whatever number I put here and expect to get only that out of the class. I am so grateful that in my life, I have the techniques I need to manage my emotions so I can get to my goals faster. I never would have thought that I would be able to get to my goals like driving a Tesla or getting along with my kids. Or this year I've been married for 25 years. We're the happiest we've ever been because I put these things into practice. My own mom came to this class. My mom, my whole life, she weighed nearly 400 pounds. And when she came to this class, I've seen her do every diet on the planet. But when she came and learned how to adjust her programs, she has let go of over 150 pounds and never put it back on. Can you guys, my mom's not here, but will you send her a round of applause towards Idaho? I'm proud of my mom. And so come playing at this level and expecting this kind of a level from the class, because that's what we do. The majority of this class is taught by the owner of the company, Kirk Duncan, and you will enjoy learning from him. I teach many classes in the company. This one, you'll see me there a little bit, but the majority is taught by the owner of the company. But I do ask that when you come to the class, come say hi to me, okay? Come say hi to me. And that will be what I ask for in exchange for this special offer I'm going to give you. Now, this special offer also includes, Scott, can you hold up those 3 CDs right there? Those 3 CDs. And do we also have that 4th one for them? Yeah, but on the offer we do. And is it the chaos one? The money one? Ooh. Do you guys know money is a relationship? Did you know it's a relationship you can improve? Would you like to know more about money? Yeah? Okay, so here's the offer I have for you. So these 3 audio CDs and another one called Money Friends, we have them in audio download format. The 4 of those together is a $74 value. If you go online and purchase the downloads, it would be $74. Those are my gift to you today when you sign up for the Master Your Influence class. But I'm only going to do that for the first 10 people. The first 10 people to register for Master Your Influence get the audio download of all 4 of these. Because I want this information in your head before you come to the class. So $74 value. Would you receive that? Yes. Okay, if you're not willing to receive, we need to have a longer class. Because receiving is something that people are not willing to do a lot on this planet. So those are good for the first 10 people. Even when I put this other tuition up here, you still get that. You still get that. Because I want you to come. Just come and play with me. Choose in at the 227 at that level. Choose in. That even if Ann didn't write another number up there, you would still come to the class. And if you're one of the crazy people in the room that wants to spend 3 months mentoring with me, come talk to me about my mentoring program, because I love to help people get to their goals. Cool? Okay, so Master Your Influence. It's taught at the Salt Palace, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Here's the next 2 dates. If those don't work for you, ask the front desk for what other dates are available. I'm going to give you this special offer. In order to access it, you go out to the front desk. They'll give you a registration form, and they'll help you or whoever you want to bring with you get registered for that class. Cool?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so will you take and use what you learned today? Yes. Okay, so bring people back next month. Send them here. Here is your special offer. You ready? 2 of you? Okay, you're ready. So you still get the $74 value of CDs, and here's the number. Okay, what's the number? Because I want you there. I care about your results more than you do, because I know what it's like to get there faster. So you guys matter. You guys totally matter. Are there any questions about this offer? Okay, so to take advantage of it, you can go out to the front desk, grab a registration form, get registered, and when you come to the class, come say hi to me. Fair enough? All right, so those of you who've come before, come again. And please, I'll be here for a few minutes to answer questions, but please give yourselves a big round of applause for being here today. You guys are awesome. Thank you.